This is the active fishing phase in Deckhand, and please note that this part of the tutorial video series is actually updated to reflect changes that we made during the first couple weeks in March based on feedback from the fishing grounds. So in the active fishing phase in Deckhand, where you will spend most of your time while you're fishing, we'll begin by selecting the type of fishing activity. So in the top bar at the top of the map screen, tap the bar or tap Edit, and for this example we're going to choose Longline Pot. Now that we've chosen Longline Pot, you'll notice a Start Setting button appears in the bottom right hand corner of the screen. So when you are ready to set your gear and that first part of your gear goes over the rail, you'll hit Start Setting. The moment you tap Start Setting, we'll log the Latin long and the date and time of the beginning point of that string of gear. We've set set number 20 as depicted at the top of the screen here. Please note that Deckhand will automatically increment the set numbers up by 1 as per the regulation. Now, it can be edited, however, by tapping on the field. In this instance, I'll tap the number 20, and I can change that number to any other number I wish. But if you are moving along consecutively, you shouldn't have to touch the set number, as it will auto-increment. The set buoy and bag number, or rather the start buoy and bag number, can be entered here. We made a change here as well where we put a keyboard in instead of just a keypad based on feedback from fishermen who said that they have letters and numbers in their buoy bag numbers, some of them. So you can enter letters and numbers in your buoy bag number if you wish. We'll go down to beginning depth. You'll enter some number there for beginning depth. And your gear ID, which will be selected from a menu and populated in that menu based on the gear IDs that you created a couple of steps ago and outlined in the previous video. So in this case, I'll choose gear ID A, which I had built for Longline Pot. We'll enter some number in here for number of skates or pots set, and bird avoidance gear. So we also, based on your feedback, moved bird avoidance gear to the set screen as opposed to the end of set screen to make life a little bit easier. So I'll choose paired streamer line, but please note that this is a multi-select, so you can select more than one type of bird avoidance gear if you use more than one type. When we're done with all of the entries here, we can tap Continue Setting. Now in this phase, gear is still going overboard. A track line will appear between the start point that you can see faintly there on the map screen. I'm stationary, so it's a little bit tough to see in this example since I'm not moving. But you'll see the start point there, and then a nice orange trail will be behind the vessel as you continue setting your string to denote the location of the start point and ultimately the end point of the string. And so when we get to that end point, we'll tap End Setting. When we tap End Setting, Deckhand records the end position and the date and time for the end point of that particular string that you've just set. We'll enter the buoy and bag number for the end, which will be really anything you want. The end depth, again, some number in there. Any notes you might want to take about that string or that position, and tap Complete Setting. Please note that anytime you can go back and tap the Update button over here on the left. In this case, in the Longline Pot Set 20 event, you can tap Update and go back and update the details of that set, such as positions, times, buoy or bag numbers, etc. So from here, it's sort of a wash, rinse, repeat process. We can go a few different ways. You can tap Start Setting again in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen to set another string of gear. So let's just go ahead and set one more for the example. I'll hit Start Setting. Now we've automatically incremented up to number 21. We'll put a buoy and bag number in there. Our position and date and time are all set. Our beginning depth is some number. Gear ID, we'll go back to A. Perhaps some number in here for number of skates or pots set. Bird avoidance gear, etc. And we'll tap Continue Setting. Again, the gear is going overboard, and now when we get to the end of the string, we tap End Setting. We can enter in our details here, tap Complete, And now we have both longline pot set 20 and set 21 soaking. How do we know they're soaking? Because of the blue arrows associated with each of the 2 sets here in the events list, as well as the fact that there is a haul button associated with each of those sets, ready for us to tap when we come back to those strings to haul them. We'll wait on hauling and we'll move over to discards for the moment. To enter discards, tap the Actions menu, which is this chevron button in the bottom left of the screen, and tap Discards Dispositions. To add discards, tap the topmost bar with the plus button and choose a species. You can filter species by typing the first couple of letters of that species, or you can scroll down in the list, or you can sort or filter by species code. For this example, we'll just choose Aleutian Skates. Please remember that discards are to be recorded on a daily basis. They're not necessarily associated with each set for the sake of the logbook itself. So you'll notice on March 31st, we have an entry for Aleutian Skates. We'll enter a product code, the unit, which will mostly be in pounds, I think, in most cases. And then Deckhand automatically calculates the balance forward and the cumulative total since last delivery. The only thing we have to enter is the daily total every day. I'll enter 100 pounds in there for the example and tap complete. Now we're back to the active fishing phase, but anytime for the trip, we can go back to discards/dispositions in the events list on the left-hand side and tap update. And we can add more species, or if the day has rolled over into the next day, day 2 for example, we can then choose Aleutian Skates again. And notice that Deckhand brings across your balance forward from the previous day and your cumulative total. So if we're on day 2, in theory for this example, if we put in 200, Deckhand automatically calculates the cumulative now to 300. I'll go ahead and enter a unit here so I can move on. And that is the overview of discards dispositions. Just a quick note again, you can add as many species as you want. Deckhand calculates the running totals and cumulatives for each of those species day after day after day, and resets all those numbers to 0 when you begin a new trip. Now let's haul a longline pot set. So I'm going to haul set number 20. I'm going to tap on longline pot set 20 on the left and tap the haul button. Tap continue. And this is where we'll enter our weights and our species. So Deckhand records the date, time of haul, the location, and will remember the target species from previous trips, so you don't have to enter it every single time. I just have a species in there for the example. I'm not going to touch it, but notice that any species in there will be recalled. We can enter skates or pots lost if there are any, halibut weight, or sablefish weight, just depending on what you're catching, of course. Sablefish type includes eastern, western, or round weight. Your hail weight here can be entered. Probably don't need to worry about the crab field all that much. And if you have to enter anything for marine mammal sightings or damage, you can tap on those bars to expand them and enter values for anything that applies to that haul or that set. When we're done, tap End Hauling. That's about it for the active fishing phase. In the next video, we'll do a landing, and also in a subsequent video, I think we have an example of how to retrieve longline pot gear that has been left overnight with a delivery in the middle between gear deployment and gear retrieval. So check out those other videos, and thanks for fishing with Deckhand Pro.